missing both shoes with some broken teeth responses. Bloody stained glass like busted in pieces on the ground.
That song never ceases to move me. That's Andy Fleming's. Andy Fleming with Brother Trucker and their tune Downtown. All right, so plenty to talk about today to kick the week off, but we're going to place a lot of emphasis today on the George Zimmerman verdict and the question of whether or not Trayvon Martin was failed, if he was indeed failed, by the Florida court system or by Florida law or by a combination of factors. It certainly has generated a lot of conversation, a lot of distress across the country, including some riots, rallies all over the place. 200 people showed up for a rally in Chicago, and someone, let's see, it was Maya Miller who attended that rally. She compared the killing of Martin to the 1955 slaying of Emmett Till. Maybe some folks who have been around a long time or have studied history or our lawyers know about the Emmett Till situation, a 14-year-old young black man who was killed in Mississippi. This woman says 58 years and nothing's changed. There were some angry demonstrations around the country, including in Oakland, where store windows were broken. In Los Angeles, about 100 people showed up protesting at I'm not quite sure where they were at, but they were surrounded by. Yeah, they surrounded a police officer and eventually had to be dispersed by officers who were firing beanbag rounds. I guess it could have been a lot worse, but this has created an awful lot of division within our community or within our society. Lots of people are very upset, and understandably, there are those voices calling for peace. The Reverend Jesse Jackson and other civil rights leaders urging peace in the wake of the verdict. You are welcome to join this conversation too, folks, at 515-244-0077 or toll free. The number is 855-244-0077. Before we welcome an expert guest to this conversation, I want to thank the Iowa chapter of the Sierra Club and also Iowa Physicians for Social Responsibility and the Great March for Climate Action for sponsoring this program. And I want to thank Gateway Market and Cafe for kicking off this segment of our show. They're my anchor business supporter. And other business supporters include, but are not limited to, Leonard Tinker Heating and Cooling, also Hawk Restaurant in the East Village, and the Immigrant Entrepreneur Summit. All right, so in the studio with me, my friend, a brilliant attorney, Joseph Glazebrook with the firm of Glazebrook and Moe. And I first read Joseph's comment about this trial. He's one of the first people whose comment I read about this trial. And I thought, well, that would make a good conversation. And there are people all over the board on this, people you would expect to be outraged who maybe aren't, people who you might not expect to be of that frame of mind who are. And what's the initial the starting point for this discussion, Joseph? I mean, people who are furious at the courts, is that the right place to be placing the blame in this particular case?
Well, Ed, I think that there's a lot of blame to go around. First of all, I want to say that I think the outcome is a terrible outcome for our country and for a lot of the problems that we've had in the past. I think that the outcome ultimately is not an accurate reflection of what happened that day. I don't believe, for example, that George Zimmerman is innocent by any stretch of the imagination. I think there's a very high likelihood that he is, in fact, guilty of murdering Trayvon Martin. But the problem in this case, and the one nuance to that general sentiment that I have, is that at the end of the day, the prosecution presented a rather weak case, frankly, and they were not able to disprove the defense's self-defense theory completely. And so at the end of the day, the jury was sort of in a position where if they're going to follow the jury instructions, they had to acquit George Zimmerman. So I guess I would say I don't put the blame on the jury. I think they were just following the law and the instructions that they were given. I put the blame on the Florida legal framework that this case occurred in, and most notably, I put the blame on the police, who really did a poor investigation of this.
Well, I mean, shouldn't some of the blame, maybe most of it, go to the prosecution? who seemed to be very aggressive about their approach to what they wanted to stick this guy with. I mean, they went for the full enchilada when maybe that wasn't a good idea given the evidence they had to back it up.
Well, I don't think there's anything wrong with the prosecution charging murder in the second degree. I think there was a case to be made there, and frankly, the division between murder 2 and manslaughter I thought was a lot smaller than the division between manslaughter and an acquittal. So I think they could have made their murder 2 case if they would have done a better job. But the truth is they didn't do a very good job throughout the course of the trial, in my opinion. I think they missed some things. I think they maybe presented a theory that wasn't very persuasive. And their style was as the defense counsel in this case said, this was kind of a bizarro trial because normally it's the defense who are posing a lot of questions and poking holes, and it's the prosecution who's usually coming in with a solid theory of what happened in models and dummies and props. And in this case, it was just the opposite. The defense came in with a strong theory about self-defense. They had the models, they had the experts, and the prosecution was forced to poke holes and ask questions about it, which at the end of the day, you can understand why a jury just was confused and didn't know what happened.
Yeah. So, I mean, do you blame the prosecution then for being overly zealous or just not doing their maybe not doing their work correctly? Or is it really, is it the flaw? Is it a flaw in the system itself that, I mean, again, ideally, the judicial process is going to out the truth. We're going to know what happened and base the appropriate verdict, the appropriate sentence on the truth. And it seems like, I mean, and by what you said as well, George Zimmerman may well have been guilty of murder, but we won't know for sure. It didn't come out in this trial. Is that a problem of how the courts operate more than anything?
Well, I would just say that there is a small percentage of crime that's going to occur in a society which we just simply that are going to slip through the cracks, and there will be criminals who get away with crime in every legal system. So I just want to make that clear. But that being said, I think this case could have come out differently, and I think there may be 3 basic problems for why it didn't come out maybe the way a lot of folks thought it should have come out. And again, I would point the finger at the initial police investigation, which I thought was extremely sloppy. And I think the police may not have been motivated to investigate up front. Second, the prosecution did not perform very well. Frankly, I was shocked at how poor at times the legal arguments that were being made by the prosecution were, and frankly, how the prosecution was terribly afraid to bring up the race card. I thought they should have. And then the third thing, of course, is Florida stand your ground law, which I can talk about a little bit more later.
Okay. Well, let's do that, but let's also go to our phone lines. Again, you're welcome to join the conversation here today, folks, at 244-0077 or toll free 855-244-0077. And we take email as well, Fallon Forum at gmail.com. Tom, welcome to the show. Hello, Tom.
Hey, Ed, this is, you asked me to call in.
Yeah, sure. I read your comments on Facebook, and I thought you made some good points.
Okay, well, it's just, I think we can do all of the Monday morning quarterbacking that we choose to, but the fact is that the verdict is in.
Yes.
And who did a good job and who did a bad job is really irrelevant at this point. I mean, I think maybe looking for future cases, so hopefully there aren't any like this, but what it really comes down to and what bothers me most about the whole process is the tenor in which the investigation and the trial were conducted. I think from the outset, people on the other side, or people who were inclined to believe George Zimmerman, set about to demonize Trayvon Martin. And if you look at the pro-Zimmerman sites that cropped up around there, I mean, that was basically characterized this teenager as a thug, a potential criminal, somebody who was going to be a drain on society, and they set about to deify Zimmerman as somehow a hero who performed a public service. And the polarization was unbelievable. And the fact is, the only people who know what actually happened are the two people who were involved, and unfortunately, one of them couldn't speak for himself. Mm. But the fact is, if there was anybody who had a criminal record or a history of violence, it was George Zimmerman.
Yeah.
He had domestic violence issues. He was arrested for interfering with a police officer.
Did that come up in the trial?
It did. No. The prosecution tried to raise the prior arrest for assault on a police officer, actually, and the judge ruled that could not come in because the charges got dropped, and the judge ruled that it wasn't probative enough to make a difference in the trial. Although I thought actually the judge was maybe wrong on that ruling. Because I do think it's relevant because they were trying to portray George Zimmerman as somebody who was incapable of fighting effectively with Trayvon Martin, such that he had to defend himself with his gun, and then yet it was not relevant, I guess, to show an example of where he had been effective in fighting in the recent past. So I thought the judge maybe got that one wrong.
Well, it's my understanding that that case involving Zimmerman and a police officer in the past he could have been charged with a felony. He was basically remanded to alcohol program, and that was the end of it. But that wasn't. I mean, the fact still remains that Zimmerman had a criminal record. Trayvon Martin didn't.
Yeah. Well, and he also had a record of calling the police over and over again for no reason really at all. He just these absurdly minor reports of what he believed to be crime in his neighborhood. For the last 8 years, he called the police something like 45 times.
Really? I missed that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So.
Yeah, but still, I think what I believe would and should happen is, I think that like the Brown and Goldman families, when O.J. Simpson was acquitted, they took civil action.
Yeah.
And Joseph, you're the attorney, but the standard of evidence in a civil case, I mean, I think can't Zimmerman be required to testify in that?
Yeah. So
can't these items in Zimmerman's past then be entered into evidence? It basically, let's face the fact that this young man was profiled. He was walking home.
Yeah, absolutely.
And was guilty of nothing. I mean, Zimmerman took notice of him because he was a young African-American male wearing a hoodie. Now, I have teenage children. I think that if they were walking through any neighborhood, or if they were in the same situation, walking home, it's doubtful that they would have been profiled. It's doubtful that anybody would have called the police and raised an alarm about one of my kids walking through that neighborhood.
Right.
And he probably wouldn't have referred to your children as effing punks, these a-holes always get away. He probably wouldn't have said that about your kids.
That's an actual quote.
That's his actual quote on the 911.
That was his actual quote.
Yeah.
Yet by the same token, they took things from Trayvon Martin's past. He was suspended from school a couple of times.
Right.
As I understand it, he was caught with a marijuana pipe and residue, and he had a graffiti incident, and he had a problem with absenteism and party.
Sounds like about 50% of American youth.
I was going to say that, there are kids walking down the halls of Roosevelt High School, where my kids go, will probably be accused of the same thing.
Yeah.
But they took that part of Zimmerman, or of Trayvon Martin's life, and they focused in on that. And I'm talking about the public commentators and the people who were, basically making George Zimmerman a hero. And I mean, the fact is, after all is said and done, the jury didn't find enough evidence to convict him.
Yeah.
But he's certainly not a hero.
I think his life. I think Zimmerman's life is probably on track to be fairly miserable for the foreseeable future. I mean,
in this topsy-turvy world, he could end up being a commentator on Fox News.
Well, he could be a talk show host, or more likely write a book or something. But it's not going to be a fun world for him.
But even afterwards, I saw the interview with Zimmerman's brother.
Yeah.
On
CNN.
On CNN, and they're still want to find out what makes a person so angry that they would lash out. We still want to investigate whether or not he was trying to procure a weapon. I mean, the demonization of this kid continues, and you're never going to get beyond that. I think the only way that they can really come to any kind of closure is to have this aired in civil court.
Right. Well, I'd say there's a really good chance of that happening. A really good chance, which again is unfortunate in terms of the amount of legal fees that will be incurred. No offense intended, Joseph, but it's going to be a lot of costs. It's going to be a lot more, dragging people and their character, some living, some not, through the public limelight. But it might result in some justice. Because I think what I'm hearing from everybody, even folks on the political right, that it's hard to see how this case really came to a just and reasonable conclusion. But Tom, thank you for the call.
I appreciate it. All right.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Hey, we got to run to a break here. Joseph is going to stick around with us, I believe, for another segment. You're welcome to call as well, folks, 244-0077, or you can email me at fallonforum@gmail.com. And I do have a little bit of email coming in that I'll share with you. I again want to thank Gateway Marketing Cafe for sponsoring this segment of our show and for providing me some great ciabatta, which I turned into French toast this morning. Compliments of my chickens and their eggs. Darn good stuff. Check them out, folks, not just for groceries, but for breakfast, lunch, and supper at 20th and Woodland in Sherman Hill. I also want to thank Diana's Wedding Cakes out of Newton. Yep, if you have a wedding cake you need to be made, that's the place. Tally's Restaurant, Bar, and Catering, another one of my restaurant supporters in Beaverdale, with patio seating on the rooftop and on the street level as well. And Community CPA and Associates, now the 10th largest accounting firm in the state, 3816 Ingersoll Ave. Look up more information about the businesses, the events, and the organizations that make the show possible on my website, fallonforum.com. When we come back, more conversation about the Trayvon Martin situation, the George Zimmerman case. I also have a little bit more to add on the Branstad situation. This is kind of on a different issue, but relevant to the same kind of problem of being totally out of touch. And I also have to inform you that there is another entity now gets the climate change connection. Yeah, the U.S. military gets it. The insurance industry gets it. Firefighters out west get it. Well, guess who else gets it? Major League Baseball.
This is Webcast One Live.
Drug and alcohol addiction slowly steals a person's identity, tearing away pieces of their life little by little, until one day it seems like the hope of a happy future is gone and there's no chance of getting it back. Here at St. Gregory Retreat Centers, we can assure you that there is hope. Our unique approach to recovery begins with the understanding that the dysfunction and damage caused by addiction can be overcome, not just dealt with. Don't let another day go by. Call St. Gregory today.
Well, good morning. This is the 7th of June in the Lord's year 2010, and this is day 101 of WebcastOneLive.com. We will begin with Max World Live with my special guest, Tom Coates. In just a minute, there's Tom. Wait. Howdy. And we will be live for the very first time on Webcast One Live. someday we're going to look back on this and say, gosh, remember that old day in history? Wonder where Walter Cronkite was. He must have been around hanging there too. But actually, it's the beginning of Webcast One Live. And thank you for listening. Thanks, Rob Spearman, and everybody who's put together this project together. And we're ready to go live now. So thanks for listening to MaxWorldLive.com.
I can't tell you that it's going real well from time to time, but it is going.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Welcome back, folks. That's Baber's Neighbors, and we are here in the Webcast One Live studio discussing the Trayvon Martin tragedy, the George Zimmerman verdict. Also, in many ways, a tragedy as well. I want to thank the Immigrant Entrepreneur Summit for sponsoring this segment of our show and remind you about that event coming up on November 9th at Drake University. Again, I want to thank all of my business supporters, including the Fighting Burrito in Des Moines at 13th and Locust, and also in Ames at 117 Welch Ave. Also in Ames, Story County Veterinary Clinic. Again, you got a pet that needs some kind of attention, give Kim Holding a shot right away. She will fix up that critter before you can believe it. Well, in most cases. At least that's been my experience. Maybe because my cat has been fairly healthy. Also, Ritual Cafe at 13th and Locust, my favorite place for a coffee shop. Although I'm a tea drinker. But yeah, they have a great selection of teas and smoothies, by the way. All right, back to our conversation. Joseph Glazebrook's in the studio with us. We're discussing the Zimmerman verdict, and you're welcome to weigh in on the conversation at 244-0077, or toll free, it's 855-244-0077. We had Tom Yoakum on the phone earlier, Joseph, and appreciated his comments and his perspective on the likelihood that this might go to a civil trial. What's your take on that?
Well, yeah, I think it's pretty likely indeed that it will go to a civil trial. Well, let me put a caveat in there. There will almost certainly be several civil lawsuits. And in fact, I know for a fact that the homeowners association in the neighborhood where this occurred has already settled with the family of Trayvon Martin to the tune of $1 million already.
Really?
Yeah. So there's already talk of civil, but the person who really needs to face justice in our civil court system is George Zimmerman. The concept of guilty beyond a reasonable doubt in our criminal system, it's a very tough threshold to get to. The civil court system, however, does a much better job of fleshing out nuances and maybe appropriating culpability in a more realistic and accurate way that perhaps could give the Martin family some justice. But I do want to say that Florida's stand your ground law is structured in such a way that if George Zimmerman claims that he was exercising his right under the stand your ground law, then the judge would have to hold a hearing in the civil court. And then if he won that hearing, the case would get dismissed. So there is a huge hurdle there. The family would basically have to show, probably more likely than not, that Zimmerman's claim on stand your ground was not valid under the law. And then just a couple other things about the civil trial. Of course, George Zimmerman would have to testify if the civil trial proceeded. He'd probably get deposed, and he'd certainly have to take the stand. And he'd be asked some tough questions like, George, how'd you get your gun out of your holster when it was behind you and you were allegedly pinned to the ground by the armpits by Trayvon Martin?
How come that question didn't come up during the trial?
There's only one explanation, and it's prosecutorial incompetence. They absolutely should have asked that question to the experts.
I'm just shocked that didn't come up.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, even I would have thought of that one.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were thinking, looking at the replay video that he did, he went back to the back pocket area, and then he later claimed that his hand was pinned at the time he reached for his gun. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. But, a couple other things, the standard of proof in a civil trial, of course, is by preponderance of the evidence. So all the Trayvon Martin family would have to do is just prove that it was more likely than not that George Zimmerman wrongfully killed Trayvon Martin for some reason, whether it was an assault, they could call it, or maybe it was an act of recklessness or something like that. There are different theories.
I mean, my take is it's hard to understand what justice looks like in this situation in our criminal justice system, because justice usually involves punishment and, to a lesser degree, restoration. Well, obviously, you cannot restore the life of Trayvon Martin. All you can do is pay his family a bunch of money. But to me, the element that continues to be missing is reconciliation, trying to get George Zimmerman to move beyond how do you want to describe his demeanor? I mean, when you call law enforcement 45 times in how many years?
Just 8 years or so. 8
years. When you have this attitude about racial minorities, I mean, how do you move him beyond that position of fear and contempt for other people who aren't like him? How does society bring people back together? I know here in Polk County there used to be a program for when a prostitute was convicted, or John, her customer, was convicted. There were efforts to get them to sit down with the neighborhood people who have to live where they would ply their trade, and to kind of get them to understand what it was like from the neighbor's point of view. Yeah. Maybe to get the neighbors to understand why someone would resort to prostitution. Is there any hope in this situation where you might see eventually some reconciliation, some restoring of a sense of peace and equilibrium between the various parties in this case?
Well, the criminal solutions are now out because he was acquitted, and of course that will be forever the ruling of the Florida court system related to this incident. However, in the civil context, it is possible that the family could work out a settlement which involves George Zimmerman voluntarily participating in some sort of program. I honestly think that George Zimmerman may be at the point where he's not redeemable, at least right now, because he it's not just that he did something wrong and everybody thinks so, and he feels bad, but he got away with it because of some clever lawyering. It's not just that. He actually has a following now. The whole Fox News audience seems to be cheering him on, like he did the right thing. Yeah, and that's twisted really mentality.
Very twisted. Well, it's from Fox.
Encourages.
We don't expect it to be not twisted if it's from Fox.
Right.
Come on.
And so that encourages the kind of behavior that he engaged in, and does not give him the incentive to reform. But hopefully the civil courts can at least provide some finding that demonstrates that his behavior was unacceptable.
All right, 244-0077, the number to call here in the Fallon Forum. Let's go to Ron Yarnell. Ron, welcome to the show.
How you doing, Ed?
Good.
On this whole Zimmerman thing, I didn't follow the trial, didn't really follow much of the story after the initial break, because this is basically how it came down to for as far as I was concerned. George Zimmerman, he advanced into a situation that he was incompetent to control. He brought a firearm with him. And
the police told him not to, correct?
That's my next step. Yeah. And he went into that situation against police counsel.
Right.
So he's, you can talk about, and the defense there, you can talk about Trayvon Martin all you want. You can vilify the dead kid all you want. And you can talk about all the legalities you want. But in the real world, George Zimmerman was wrong from the get-go. He should not have advanced into that situation. He brought nothing to the game. He was incompetent to control the situation, and the result is the death of the kid. Now, this is what scares me, because Joseph just mentioned that Zimmerman has a following, is that people think that if you have a firearm, suddenly you have the power, you're the man. And that most decidedly is not true. More likely, for a lot of people, the power got them. And they're most certainly not the man. They're not competent to control a volatile situation that they don't fully understand. And, Zimmerman, he makes a mighty poor... If you're into the NRA and stuff like that, I think that you want a different poster boy than Zimmerman, because he doesn't really reflect...
They might have to go back to Charlton Heston, huh?
Well, yeah, because...
It was Clint Eastwood. Which one?
Basically, Zimmerman was a knucklehead who went into a situation he didn't understand because he believed the rhetoric that once you have a gun, which he didn't need for his function. His entire function, as far as I can understand, Community Watch, if you see something suspicious, you call 911.
It seems like he was doing a lot of that. So,
and the Neighborhood Watch program that he was a participant in, they had a rule that said you're not supposed to engage in this volunteer work unless, if you have a gun. You're not supposed to have a gun when you do this. That was their rule.
I didn't know that.
Right. So Zimmerman becomes a mighty poor poster boy for people trying to argue stand your ground or gun rights or anything else, because he's an example of exactly what not to do.
Ron, thank you so much for the call.
All right, thanks a lot.
I've got to run to a break. I do want to get your take. If you're familiar with this post that came out on Facebook and other places showing a picture of Trayvon Martin or actually George Zimmerman and the ruling, the verdict, and then showing, again, I can't remember the woman's name, an African-American woman who fired shots to warn somebody who was actually attacking her, and she got 20 years in prison. Right. I want to talk about that if it's okay when we come back.
Sure.
And again, we'll take at least one more call before we wrap up the show or wrap up this segment of the show. Actually, this segment will go till quarter of, and then we're going to welcome Sarah Rice to the program with the Des Moines Area Religious Council talking about the food stamp issue and food insecurity in general. Again, the number to call here, 244-0077. And as promised, I will talk with you a little bit about, very briefly though, but interestingly, about how Major League Baseball gets climate change. Anyway, I do want to thank the Immigrant Entrepreneur Summit for sponsoring the show. And I heard some folks talking over the weekend about, I'd like to know how to start my business. Well, if you don't know how to start your business, join the crowd. It's a really hard thing to do. I know, I speak from experience. But if you want a good jump start on it, go to the Immigrant Entrepreneur Summit, November 9th at Drake University. A lot of people come away with a lot of good ideas on how to do that. I want to take a second to thank Sergeant's Garage, who have been servicing 4 generations of Fallon mobiles. And the way I'm going with the last one here, it might last the rest of my life. I want to thank Dan Kelly and his real estate business for sponsoring the show. And again, also Ritual Cafe, where I hope to end up later today. I'll be back in just a couple minutes.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
The dawn of a new era begins.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Welcome back to the Fallon Forum. That's Max Wellman. Max, thanks for kicking this segment of our show off with your wonderful music. And I want to thank the $1 Million Marathon for sponsoring this segment of our show. And remind folks that tomorrow night at the Papa John's Center downtown at 13th and Locust, the $1 Million Marathon will be rolling through Des Moines en route from Washington State to Delaware, traveling 4,000 miles. It's a relay run. 160 marathons, one after the other, passing the baton across the country to raise money for cancer. This is a big event. organized right here from Des Moines. Dick Deming, a big part of that. Charlie Whitmock's involved, and also Steve Cannon. It's a project of Above and Beyond Cancer. And tomorrow night, Tuesday, Sean Johnson will be participating as well. That's always fun to have her involved. It'll be 6 p.m. tomorrow night down at 13th and Locust. It should be a blast. So check that out. I also want to remind you about Tally's Restaurant, Bar, and Catering. Again, lunch and dinner, but this time of the year, fantastic outdoor seating on the roof and on the sidewalk cafe as well. And as I mentioned earlier, the Immigrant Entrepreneur Summit. If you're thinking of getting into business for yourself, that's a great place to start. Okay, so one more thing before we go back to our conversation. I tell you, climate change is becoming clearer and clearer to me and to firefighters out west, to insurance companies, to the U.S. military. Everyone's figuring out, except Fox News. Major League Baseball has, I believe, figured it out. Okay? Okay, now, the weather, okay? Because of the way the weather's been operating, we've had really bizarre stuff going on. There was a game in Denver where it was 23 degrees. It's never happened before where it's been 23 degrees in a game in Denver in April. Okay, that made it the coldest game time temperature in the records in history. Okay, there was also snow at Target Field. There was hail at Yankee Stadium and buckets of rain from coast to coast. More than 30 games have been postponed so far going into this past weekend. Last year, the whole season, 21 games. Okay, so Major League Baseball, another casualty of climate change. Okay, so these crummy conditions have wreaked havoc with the schedule across the board. Of course, because you've got interleague games going on, it's hard to make up games. It's hard to reschedule them. So they try. One thing they do is try to make the games. If there's a rain delay, instead of just canceling, they'll just keep it going. So there was a game in Tampa Bay where they waited for 5 hours of rain delays. Okay, no, this actually was in Cleveland. Tampa Bay playing in Cleveland. This has been happening more and more. The Mets, because they were trying to make up all these games, played 3 games in 3 different time zones in 3 days, okay? In St. Louis, you had a 4.5-hour rain delay, again, trying to get these games in because so many are getting canceled. Okay, so it's just, here's my only silver lining in that dark climate cloud. Maybe in the new climate era, because of all the crazy stuff happening with the weather, there will be a window of opportunity for the Chicago Cubs to actually win the World Series again. That is what I'm hoping on, okay? All right, now on to more important subjects. I mean, nothing could be more important than baseball, except maybe climate change, but this is a pretty important topic. And this is really troubling to me. The same week, was it, or the weekend maybe even, that Zimmerman is found innocent, is not charged with the crime. A woman, a Florida woman, her name is Marissa, what is it? I'm blanking on her last name now. Anderson, thank you. She was given 20 years in prison, aggravated assault with a deadly weapon for shooting a warning shot into a wall because her abusive husband, she feared, was coming after her. She got 20 years. Didn't kill anybody, fired a shot to warn an aggressor. She's in prison for 20 years. Joseph, how do you reconcile those two rulings?
Well, I think that highlights really what is kind of underlying this and why many in the African American community feel that our justice system is broken. And it's not just because they don't get justice when somebody is killed wrongfully with all of the racial issues in this Zimmerman case, but it's also because so many times in our system you have, and I'm a defense attorney, Ed, as you know, and
yes, I know that very well.
And in our system,
you defended the indefensible.
Well,
that would be me,
I suppose. No. But anyway, so many times it's the other way around, where we have the powerful and well-funded state prosecutor going after the racial minority who has no money and who is lucky to even have a lawyer. And, usually you end up with all of these cases where people get wrongfully convicted because the juries just assume the worst when they have a black defendant. They get scared. And so many, many, many people who are currently spending time in prison right now are there in part because our country is not very good at protecting wrongful convictions against African-American defendants and other racial minorities.
How do we change that?
And so in this case, this woman got 20 years for this assault and she didn't even hurt anybody. So it's a disparity, and it's a problem. How do we change that? Well, that's the $1 million question, I guess. I would start by maybe stopping all of the budget cuts for the very many good programs that our government has set up over the years to try to reduce the effects of poverty, because the primary cause of all crime, in my opinion, is poverty, followed closely by mental health.
No, in this case, her husband had a protective order against him. He was abusive. He was dangerous. I mean, it almost seems like the greater disparity when you look at these two cases is not race, it's gender. I mean, this woman had legitimate reasons to be afraid. I'm not sure I ever want to justify having a gun laying around and shooting it even into a wall, but she didn't hurt anybody. She did what she felt she had to do.
I think the 20-year sentence on that is just seems pretty ridiculous. I don't know if it was a plea bargain, or I don't know if there's a mandatory minimum that kicked in or something. But it's a pretty ridiculous outcome, and it's certainly a disparate outcome. It's the type of thing that makes our jurisprudence look very jagged. Right. We don't have a level playing field. We have a mountain for some people and a easy valley for a lot of other people. But, how do you fix it? That's anybody's guess. But I would certainly start by trying to address the socioeconomic problems in our society.
Right. Let's take one more call. Who do we got, Maddie? Frank from Des Moines. Welcome to the show, Frank.
Hello, Ed.
How are you?
Listen, I got 3 quick points. I'll make them quick. But just to address your prior point there, I assume the difference between the two, and I'm not a lawyer, but there's a difference between firing at a target and firing indiscriminately where somebody else unintended gets hurt that wasn't the target of your shot.
All right, let me let Joseph respond to that. We'll take your points one at a time. Joseph?
Is there a difference in the law between firing at a target and then firing indiscriminately where somebody gets hurt? I suppose, yes, there is. Although in civil law, there's a concept called transferred intent, which means if you intend to shoot one person and you end up shooting somebody else, you're just as liable for shooting that second person. I suppose in the law of murder, murder can be proved one of several ways: intent to kill, intent to cause grievous bodily harm. And then there's this other theory called depraved heart, which means you're acting so recklessly that if somebody dies, you're guilty of murder as well. So actually, I think that both of those situations could result in the same outcome. This woman, however, was not shooting indiscriminately. She was shooting as a warning shot. So I don't really understand the question.
Well, she wasn't shooting at the man, so she was shooting somewhere else besides at the man, and that bullet could have went and killed somebody. Could have killed the neighbor.
I'm missing your point. She hit a wall. A wall.
And bullets go through walls, Ed. I don't know.
Yeah, but I think Frank's saying that she should have shot him.
And there's drive-by shootings in this country.
So you think she should have shot him?
Well, don't draw the gun unless you plan on using it properly.
Well, I think warning somebody is the proper way to use it, and probably a better way to use it.
You pull it out and you brandish it. You don't fire it indiscriminately. I mean, cops got to account for every bullet they let loose out of the chamber of their gun down the street. But I want to get to a couple of these other quick points.
And we want you to, Frank. Fire away. No pun intended.
This double jeopardy or double indemnity, whatever you call it, not being a lawyer, this smacks of there's a price tag on your child's life. I'm sorry to Bonnie Lee Bakley. I'm sorry to these different individuals, but this new trend we have of we can't find somebody guilty in a court of law, so we're going to go put a price tag on the life of there's no price tag on my daughter's life. I don't care.
What's his point? What's your point, Frank? I'm missing it.
My point is, I'm getting sick and tired of this double jeopardy. When you get found not guilty in a court of law, they're going to drag you into another court of law, and they're going to try to charge you a second time.
Oh, your problem is with a justice system that allows options if one option fails.
Yeah, exactly. Prove your case, and if you don't prove your case, you're done.
But there's plenty of reasons why that makes sense.
The double jeopardy clause only prohibits re-prosecution by the same sovereign that prosecuted you in the first place, in this case, the state of Florida. So it would not prohibit some other entity, for example, the federal government, to prosecute you, nor would it prohibit a civil case, and that's been the law for hundreds of years.
Well, and then the second, the quick thing here.
Yeah, your last point, Frank, because I got another call I want to take, and the connection is bad.
I'm going to try to blend it into two here really quick. But the last point is working in the rental car industry for a number of years. I know what highly influenced this right to carry laws down in Florida. And it was the fact that rental cars were a target. Florida has been the carjack capital of the world. And part of the reason that influenced those laws was there was several rental car people who had got drugged to their death and things down in Florida because they were carjacked. Right to carry means you got a right to carry. Zimmerman didn't carry that gun with the express purpose of going out and shooting Trayvon Martin. He carried that gun because in Florida you have a right to carry because he was headed to Target to go get groceries. He could have got carjacked on his way to Target. That's the point.
All right, let me give Joseph a chance to.
I've got a very important point I've got to give you. So
Frank,
please indulge me here.
All right.
I was a Christian my whole life. I've been raised around faith.
Okay.
I was taught to believe that every life, you should celebrate every life and mourn every death. I'm getting sick and tired of this country where we only highlight the bright-eyed, blue-eyed, brown-eyed, pale girls, and we don't highlight the Hispanic and the black girls. I am sick and tired of people.
Welcome to my world.
Okay, but
thank you.
But there is murder after murder after murder that happens in this country that there's no hoodie march. Nobody brings any notice to it. Al Sharpton has the city of Chicago that is literally full of unjust murders on a nightly basis. 49 people were killed on St. Valentine's Day a couple of years ago. Philadelphia, Chicago, these are murder capitals of our world. And where is the hoodie marches? Get Al Sharpton.
Let me give Joseph a chance to respond to that, Frank. I'm going to let you go because our lines are full, and I know I've got to keep at least one line open for our last caller.
All right. Bye.
Wow, there's so much there. I would just say that we do need to bring more attention to murders that occur in the minority communities, which often don't get much attention. And there is a certain absurdity in how our media covers these things. I agree with Frank in some sense there, but I mean, what was his first point? I don't remember about the carjacking.
Right.
Actually, Frank, I disagree. I don't think it had much to do with carjacking. I think the reason that Stand Your Ground passed in Florida was because the American Legislative Exchange Council came in and wrote the bill for the right-wing legislators. Yeah, ALEC.
Right. ALEC has been writing lots of bills, and in Republican legislatures, they've been passing pretty comfortably.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to one more call before we wrap up this segment of the show. Robin Cash, Robin from Cedar Rapids, welcome to the show.
Ed, good to talk to you.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I'm getting close to the end of my time on this conversation, so fire away, Robin. No pun. I really didn't mean that as a pun. What's on your mind?
Well, I was prompted to call because of the Zimmerman-Martin trial and outcome of that, and it was real. For me, it was, and I think for a lot of us, it's really hard to bear that. I wrote in a Facebook message and on Twitter that, here this adult armed male tracks this young man and then claims he got attacked. And even if he did get attacked, it was seemed to me it was a matter of some provocation involved there. Mm-hmm. If I live just a few blocks from my Hy-Vee. If I were walking home at night from my Hy-Vee and somebody was following me, it'd make me nervous too.
Yeah.
And there are so many things about this trial and case that just makes you wonder. I mean, 6 women, all of them white. There are no men in Sanford. There are no black people in Sanford who are qualified to sit on a jury. It seemed to me like it was not, as we say, a jury of peers. I think the broader context of this, and I was just talking to my neighbor about this morning, is you put this in the context of all of the other things that are surrounding this, the Supreme Court's decision on the Voting Rights Act, and state-by-state effort to implement voter IDs, and it just seems like we're continuing to lose the ground that was gained from the 1960s and trying to get a more just society here. And
what do you? I mean, Joseph, are we losing ground? Are we?
Just remember, in the Voting Rights Act case, it was Chief Justice Roberts who said, the country has essentially solved its problems with race, so we don't need the Voting Rights Act anymore, which is absurd. But
we're going to be talking about that on Wednesday.
Well, I don't know what world Roberts lives in, but it's certainly different from the one that my neighbors and I live in.
Yeah, we're trying to figure that out still in the legal community as well. Florida law allows for 6-person juries in non-capital cases, so that's one issue there. But actually, of the 6 women on the jury, 1 was non-white. So, I mean, there's a little correction there, but it's still, it's questionable as to whether it was a jury of his peers. And I think your fundamental point is that if you're an African American in this country, and especially if you're a youth, you just cannot be out walking around in a white neighborhood because you can't feel safe, because if somebody doesn't like the fact that you're walking around, they're going to, have the right to come up and shoot you. And if they have a clever defense lawyer, they're going to get away with it. That's the message that a lot of people are taking from the Zimmerman trial. And it's a very, very unfortunate message. And I hope that we can do something about it. But that's where we're at right now.
Well, I kind of said my piece, so.
Okay. Well, I appreciate the call, Robin.
I don't know what to do about this. I'm continually stymied. I contact my elected officials, and others do as well. It seems to make no difference. It seems to me like all 3 branches of government are kind of ranged against people. I mean, you look at the executive branch here has deported more people of color than any previous administration. The Congress is so screwed up that it can't do anything. It's turning students into indentured servants with onerous interest rates, and then you've got the Supreme Court that one thing after another. So I don't see where people in this country are going to catch a break.
Well, it's a troubling question. I every time I have that kind of outlook myself, I do look back and think of all the things we have accomplished, most recently on marriage equality. I mean, that's a huge step forward. But yeah, it does seem like there are some problems we cannot seem to get beyond. Robin, thanks for the call. I appreciate you taking the time to join us.
All right.
All right, got to run to a break, folks. Well overdue, actually, but we've got a little bit of time left. When I come back, we're gonna switch gears. I've got to move on. I think we're going to save our segment with Sarah Rice with the Des Moines Area Religious Council and our discussion about food security and the farm bill, and it's what used to be in the farm bill, now it's out somewhere on its own, the food stamp program. We'll probably talk about that tomorrow. I think she can join us tomorrow as well. And again, there will be plenty of time to see what happens in the U.S. House and U.S. Senate on that issue. But I do want to welcome Ron Gilbert to the show when we get back regarding a theatrical production going on this very evening here in Des Moines. Again, thank you, Joseph, so much for joining us. Joseph Glazebrook, folks, with the firm Glazebrook and Moe. Always appreciate your insights and perspectives on these issues. You do a great job, and it's always appreciated.
It's great to be here, Ed, and I love talking about these issues.
All right, folks. Yeah, be back in just a couple of minutes. Again, I want to thank the $1 Million Marathon for sponsoring this segment of our program, and remind you that event in Des Moines, 6 p.m. tomorrow night at the Papa John's Center in downtown Des Moines, should be a fun time as we welcome the person running that leg of the marathon to downtown Des Moines.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
I'm Brian Leach, owner and general manager of Service Legends. I brought along a couple of the home comfort heroes.
Hi, I'm Tammy Wells.
I am Nick Wondershad.
I'm administrative manager.
I am the senior technician
from Service Legends.
It seems like every good thing, when you feel it to the bone that it's good, there's a lot of hard work put behind it. I don't think that you can fake it and have it turn out good.
You know, if we seem like, okay, that's just weird, it's just a furnace, why would you believe so deeply in a furnace? It's not just that, you know, we want to show the world that you can have good service.
Yeah, I mean, it's your home.
You know, it's built into our daily trainings, it's built into our culture, that we're gonna do whatever it takes to have each client say they love us, period.
That's why we spend all the hours in the training that we do. And if we guarantee it's gonna be a good experience for you, or else it's free, what type of work do you think we're gonna do?
There is a guarantee.
Temperature selection guarantee, fixed right or it's free guarantee, comfort guarantee, best value guarantee. All of these guarantees hold us accountable to ensuring that we exceed your expectations. And if for whatever reason we fail and we can't make it right, we guarantee all of those guarantees with a 100% money back guarantee.
I mean, if you don't think that your technician can fix it right, are you going to say that to a client? No.
You don't have to worry about having a technician come to your house.
We drug test, background check all of our team members. We put safe people in your home. Each and every one of our service techs, 400 hours a year in training.
You tell it the minute they walk in the door. They know what they're doing, they've done their homework, and they actually truly care about what you want.
Because at the end of the day, you're the person that makes sure I have a job.
They're going to be listening. They're going to want to know what your challenges are. Then they're going to come and give you options, and you get to choose.
If I'm there to help and I make it easy and painless, I did my job right that day.
Well, when it comes to your comfort, safety, and your family, you don't necessarily go buy the most expensive, but you get the most bang for your buck.
Oh, it's worth it because there's a lot of people that will find a way to get it to work right now and then leave and then come back, charge you again, and the cycle just repeats itself. So when I'm out there looking at the furnace, I want to find why it failed today. How can we change the part today with something that you're not going to have to worry about? Is it worth changing the part today? I mean, you can put a lot of money into a furnace. I can fix parts all day. There's good job security in that for me, but is it the right thing for you?
I get a lot of the phone calls of after the technicians are there. They're just in awe. They're like, wow, you guys are great. I mean, I don't even know what to say. You guys are great. Everything you did was perfect. It was great.
Keep going though, I like this.
Just give us a try. I'm gonna take all the risk.
I've got the time to make this right. I've got the support to make it right.
Just check us out.
And if you don't see the value in what we do,
I mean, fixed right or it's free or 100% money back.
enough said.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
That's Mary McAdams in this segment of the Fallon Forum, brought to you by Hawk Restaurant. Hawk as in H-O-Q. Hawk Restaurant is at East 5th and Locust in the East Village neighborhood. And the owners, Cynthia and Suman Hawk, get 90% of the food they serve from Iowa farms and Iowa producers. It's a great benefit to our community on so many levels. And on the simple level of being incredibly tasty and creative, you can't beat it. So I had one guy join me for dinner there once. Actually, there were four of us. And this guy was from New York, and he said, you could not find a better restaurant in New York City than what we have right here. He'd never been there before. He was impressed. So again, check it out, folks. Hawk Restaurant in the East Village. I also want to thank a few of my other business supporters. Dan Kelly's Real Estate Business, also Ritual Cafe, and of course the Immigrant Entrepreneur Summit, an event that helps support this program as well. That's coming up on November 9th. All right, back to our conversation here. Just all out of time on a couple other important issues. We will fit these in. I got to talk to you about Governor Branstad. And the guy's new trouble every day, and this trouble relates to EMS services. With his bizarre, just crazy decision to veto veto legislation to try to add some understanding to what's going on. Why cities, counties, and rural townships are struggling to be able to provide EMS service. Why would he veto that? It was a meager $28,600 appropriation. The Register points it out. In a budget with a surplus of over $1 billion, that's the equivalent of an Iowa family with a $5,000 savings account spending 15 cents on something. The governor vetoed the equivalent of 15 cents in that metaphor. Incredible. All right, we're going to talk a little bit more about that and why. And again, it just is more evidence to me that the governor is so out of touch with reality. It just is no way this guy should be in. There's no way he should be considered for a fifth term. No, sixth term. All right, one more thing to do before we wrap up the show. I want to welcome Ron Gilbert to the show. Ron is an actor. He's involved with promoting a play called Disgraced, which is going to be showing tonight at the Des Moines Social Club. Ron, how you doing?
I'm great, Ed. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, and I'm sorry we don't have too much time, but tell us a little bit about this play and what people can expect tonight.
Well, It's the most recent winner for the Pulitzer Prize for Drama. It takes a look at a U.S. very successful immigrant from India who has pretty much fulfilled the American dream, and then in a post 9/11 world, things start to come crashing down. So it looks at religion, it looks at politics, it looks at what happens when a dinner party goes bad. It's really a fascinating play.
Is it only tonight?
Just tonight. It's a free reading. It's actually Java Joe's.
Oh, Java Joe's, sorry.
4th Street Theater, right, yeah.
Okay.
But it's a social club event. It's at Java Joe's.
Ah, gotcha. Okay, sure. The social club is in transition right now. Okay.
Right.
So at the 4th Street Theater next to Java Joe's. Gotcha.
Exactly.
And
7 o'clock
free?
tonight.
That's
it's free.
How do you afford to do these things for free?
Yeah.
How does that work?
Well, it doesn't take much. This is just a rehearsed reading, so we don't have any sets or all that kind of stuff. So, but the actors have been working on this, rehearsing the script. So what you're going to see is going to be a really powerful performance.
Great. Well, I'm sorry. I have another appointment tonight at 7 myself, so cannot make it. But again, I hope people do. Again, that's tonight at 7 p.m. at the 4th Street Theater. The play, a reading of the play Disgraced, which sounds like a very intriguing plot. Ron, thank you for letting me know about it.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, Ed.
All right, folks. That's the latest from the cultural and culinary crossroads of America, a.k.a. Des Moines, Iowa. Again, I want to thank the Immigrant Entrepreneur Summit for sponsoring this segment of our show. And Hawk Restaurant for sponsoring this segment of our show. And all the other businesses, events, organizations that make this program possible. I want to thank my producer, Maddie Kane, and also Webcast One Live. When we come back tomorrow, folks, Tom Ahart is going to join us for our weekly segment on education, which is called A New Beat on Learning. We're going to talk about efforts to increase the amount of art, music, and sports available to middle and high school students in the Des Moines district. Also joining us, Tom Coates. We're going to talk about the downside of gambling if Polk County authorities get their way and build another casino here in Polk County. We're also going to talk with Don Falk. He's an expert on wildfires. He's from a university in Arizona that have been looking closely at the climate change wildfire connection. And we're also going to talk with Sarah Rice with the Des Moines Area Religious Council about the food bank situation, food insecurity, and the Farm Bill and its food stamp element, which again has been separated now. We're going to talk with her about that and see where that conversation goes. And plenty more planned for the rest of this week. I'll be back tomorrow.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.